My name is Ellie, and I am. Ashoko is dead.
I am not dead.
No. Okay, so he started right behind the camera. Yeah, but yeah, let's consider that. So I have taken over his YouTube channel, right? So first of all, before I move on, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors. He's the GOAT. Anyways, enough of Golden State Warriors. I was troubled this past week by the news of Aminata Diallo. I don't know if you heard about it. The news was broken by the New York Times, and then it took on a life of its own, a global life of its own, within seconds it seems. And I was troubled, particularly troubled by it, because of the perceived notion of racism around it, right? So what had happened was, after a team dinner, Aminata Diallo decided to give her teammate, whose name I refuse to memorize. Yes, I refuse to memorize her name, but she's white, and she decided to take her home after a team dinner, right? So on the way home, they were stopped by two men in balaclavas who dragged them out and then beat up her teammates, apparently breaking her legs. Oh, and then get this, there was a third passenger in the car, but then white imperialist media decided to neglect that and then focus only on Aminata, a black player, a black woman at that, and then his white counterpart. So back to the black-clad men, they dragged her teammates out, beat the crap out of her, and left Aminata. So if you are a fan of mystery stories, right, you'd go like, okay, so clearly since the balaclava men left Aminata Diallo alone without any scratches, then she was the one who would have had motive to get violent men to attack her teammate, because what they were both playing the position, the same midfield position. So this is what obviously the racist French police decided to run with. In the first place, in any criminal attack against women, the first person that police look into are the men in the attacked person's life. The men. So you would think that they would want to go and investigate this teammate's boyfriend or father or something, because statistics indicates that women are subject to violent attacks by the men in their lives. But then you go and decide to investigate, and well, now she's innocent, an innocent black player. Why? Because of racism, of institutionalized racism, because she is black. Because you cannot really, or at least according to them, all of this in quotation marks, that you cannot really think anything good can come out of a black person. Long story short, 2 days ago, it was reported, widely reported, in certain news outlets that Aminata had been cleared of all charges. Now, the real crust of the issue here is why black people, when news of this broke, why didn't they, one, support one of their own? Two, why did they take to social media and whatever social groups that they are in to lambast Aminata Diallo because a white person was involved, without considering the fact that, one, that the French police is racist, France is racist, that two, all the facts weren't out. Either they weren't out or they hadn't bothered to actually read all the facts around the story. When I first saw the headline, I didn't even bother to read the comments, because I know what the comments are going to say. They're going to vilify, absolutely cast aspersions on and destroy Aminata's character. So I stayed away from it, and then consciously decided then to block and get rid of each and every tweet that came out casting Aminata Diallo as the antagonist of this story. Now, as luck of fate would have it, 2 days ago, it came out that Aminata Diallo has been cleared of all charges. The French police, they are by law obligated to let go of any person that they've held for investigation after 48 hours if they do not have anything substantial to hold them against. So that is why Aminata was let go. Because guess what? There's new information indicating that somebody, perhaps an aggrieved ex of the teammate, could have put trackers on Aminata's car, followed the car, found out where they were going, and then attacked the teammate. And it also turns out that this said teammate actually has an aggrieved boyfriend who wanted to cause her harm. So once again, back to my first point, why didn't the police go after the ex of that teammate, and why did they instead go after Aminata? Because the white girl told them that they should go after Aminata. Racism. Anyways, this is why I bring in Achwekun. He has risen from the dead. Achwekun, come in.
Okay, so the amazing thing that I got to realize was that the moment the thing happened, the thing got into the media space, I was on radio, and the panel on which I was, there was this gentleman who went wild and then started going down black people. Why are black people negative? Everything criminal is involved with a black person. And you know, they did a graphics with the white lady Hamraoui. They did a graphics with Hamraoui on one side and then Aminata on the other side. So the moment they see that there's a white person suffering the assault from a black person, then that was it. Then the black people jumped in and started condemning other black people. When you go on Twitter, it was even worse. So what they do is that they go in and then they are cutting ourselves into pieces, they are condemning black people. And you were talking about racism. You see, when the white society also come in and read this, that even black people are condemning their own blacks, then it gives them the edge to even keep on. Because if they don't have any evidence, but even other black people are saying that, look, other black people are racist, black people are this, no, black people are violent, they are bad, they are criminals. So it's what we as a people say about ourselves that gets these whites to behave the way they are behaving. I'm sure that if black people had begun standing up for other blacks, like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, whichever years ago, at least they would have recognized that blacks are united. They are united against racism. They are united against segregation, all those things. But here you see blacks, and you see we are in Ghana. We complain about tribalism, right? We complain about
ethnocentrism.
Exactly. We complain about all these things here. But when issues involving blacks and whites come in, right, we all mass up and then we complain. Whites are racist. White people are this. They do this. But among ourselves, we are ethnocentric. We deal to the extreme about ethnocentrism. We are tribal people. We have tribal. Even in Ghana, we have different people from different tribes saying that they won't even get married to these people. They don't even want to talk to people.
Which is extreme.
You get it. So I don't want to call it a culture, but because there's subculture. It's not everybody who believes in that. There's subculture of blacks condemning other blacks. There's subculture of blacks hating other blacks. There's subculture of blacks seeing everything black as black. There's subculture of blacks seeing everything black as bad. There's subculture of blacks seeing everything white as good. There's subculture of blacks seeing everything black that they see as evil. Right? You can talk about neo-colonialism and the ideas that the whites have put into the minds of the black man. But I believe that if you are a journalist and you've gone to school, you're educated, and you go on a media platform, that's what you learn about. Because we don't go to journalism school and then they just push you out there and start to teach you how to write stories and all that. They educate you. They tell you the history of journalism, where it came from. Other blacks who use journalism to fight the white supremacy system. They teach you all these things. So you are supposed to know better. So when issues like this come in, let's even take the basic points about law, right? If they say that you are not guilty until you are proven guilty. So the moment the story broke, I'm sure no journalists out there in Ghana.
We are judges, juries, and executioners all in once against our own people.
Exactly. That's what we do. And it's been all over. You can count thousands of examples, right? You remember during the peak of the COVID lockdown period when Floyd.
The police guy put his knee on his back, like on his neck, like on his neck.
And then suffocated him to death. Yes. So look at that incident, for instance. You see the protests that we saw on television, we saw on social media, we saw on the international media. That is how black people are supposed to behave, right? In all instances. But even that we saw that in typical American society, where the black Americans there who have been suffering this fate
And we
decided
know
that
that,
they had to rise up against the system, and they did that.
And I think
but here the difference is that, you see, we have blacks in different parts of the world, like blacks in the West. Those blacks understand that they need to stand up and then fight the system because they've been suppressed for a very, very long time. So they stand up to the system and then fight it. But the blacks here in Africa, we have a different prism through which we view these blacks in the West, right? So if something happens, oh, Kodaki, black man, he's the person doing this. They are always doing the bad things.
Yeah.
So I think that even us here, I think we have rather been, is it cultural infiltration or whatever? We've been made to accept everything as white, as good, and everything black as evil. So that's the result. That's the reason why we saw the headline. See, I was reading to you a headline from Sky Sports earlier about this whole thing. See, the headline says that Kheira Hamraoui attack. Aminata Diallo pleads innocent after being released from police custody without charge. That means that she was released. Not a single charge was made against her.
Yeah.
But here we are media people. We just went on media platforms, radio, television, set, wherever, and then we started condemning her.
Right, and then for me, right, the shocking part about all of this is that if it had been a white counterpart that was allegedly claimed to have done this, the news wouldn't have been spread as quickly and as wide as it did. Because talk about it, BBC carried it, the New York Times broke it, CNN carried it, and a Turkish newspaper, Al Jazeera, a Turkish newspaper, Daily Saga also carried it. And then after the news broke that she had been cleared of charges, guess what? None of these platforms are nowhere to be found. I personally only found one news outlet who was willing to release another tweet saying that Aminata had been cleared of charges. What happened to the others?
You can raise a point with that, but my point still rests on how blacks, the reception with which we gave this story. I remember during the build up to the 2016 elections in Ghana, okay, so the BBC sent a journalist from Nigeria to cover the Ghanaian elections. So it's a lady. So she comes in, and if you remember clearly, there was a last rally that was held by the NDC at the Accra Sports Stadium. Then they found a report that during the rally there was violence and 2 people had died, had been killed. It was on the BBC website. They published it and then tweeted it. So it took a journalist, Gary Smith, to bring this up and say that we are here in Accra. There was nothing like that happened. So all of us, in fact, he did very well. He canvassed all of us. We went to Twitter and forced the BBC to change that story, and they did. So in this Aminata's case, do you think that if all the black media in Africa, in Europe, elsewhere, had come together and said that, look, you cannot pronounce her guilty until she's actually found guilty, do you think the international media could have gone ahead with that? But look at the reaction that came from the black media houses. The black media houses in Africa. What was our reaction? We can talk about racism all day. We know racism has been there since time immemorial. But how are black journalists, black media men, how are we willing to change the narrative? Think about that. We cannot extricate the racialism away from this whole incident because we can trace a number of these things, and racialism has been there since biblical times, right? So we cannot just take this. I'm sure if it was a white person against another white person, they would have done what you just said.
Yeah,
they would have given the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
The media, even the Western media, wouldn't have even put it out there and then spread it like that.
It would have been just another ordinary
and
story.
you know, there's this saying that everything negative sells, right? And the negative here in this is a blackness.
It bleeds, yeah.
It's a blackness.
Basically saying that, hey world, look at this, the black man, being a monster again, and that
is it.
And you know what that does? That actually puts fear in white people.
The other bit is that black people are not monsters. We are not what people think or what is been the image that has been painted to the West.
We are just like everybody else.
Yes, but the point is that the white society, some of them, not all of them, project this kind of ideas or project this kind of subculture against blacks, right? Until the black man, as Kwame Nkrumah said, until the black man decides to stand up and then show the true color of the black man.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free us from our minds. We ourselves, this is just like to confirm what you said, we ourselves, we have to rise up and free ourselves from this slavery.
See,
That's what it's done.
can we find 2-3 top black journalists who stood up, put up a tweet and said that, look, let us wait till the finality of this whole thing, this whole Aminata Hamraoui issue is done with the police before we can come out to actually blame her or say that she's guilty or not. We do not find a single notable black journalist saying this.
Which is pathetic.
And everybody.
That's a pathetic side of it all.
So if I see that a white person is extending racism against a black person, I think that it's very fair that I stand and then do this and then watch. Because in the next gap, they are going to either be tribalistic against me or they are going to be ethnocentric against me. Right? So until we change this, until we stop the tribal attitude within ourselves, as it stands now, this is what colonialism has done to us, right? It has brought people of different tribes who could have lived in their separate countries together as one people in a nation.
I think I know where you're going.
In a nation, right?
It's like
that's the reality.
The milk has already been spilled.
Yes,
so
that's
where do you rise from there?
Exactly. There are certain leaders who have come to Ghana and they try to change this narrative by, especially in Tamarin, like.
Oh, so I love Kwame Nkrumah.
And
Powerful Kwame Nkrumah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So he tried to diffuse that thinking about the Akans and then the Evers.
But the more he did, the more they hated him.
Yes, but you see, at least he started something, and it's something that we need as a nation. We need to try and gear towards, to try and work on that, because if we don't achieve that,
we need to recognize that there's a problem.
Yes, if we don't, exactly, that's the point. If we don't recognize that this is a national issue that we need to tackle, right, it's going to extend. And the more it extends, the more we are not going to develop, not just in development in terms of infrastructure, buildings, roads, and all that, but in terms of the minds of the people. Because if the people are not developed in their minds, no matter the amount of development that you put out there,
keep pulling you down.
Exactly. So
and that is the worst kind of, like, that is just bad.
So wrapping up, in the same way that we are talking about, we need to develop mentally. If we don't do that as black people, if we don't develop our minds, if we
start to see ourselves as one people, not as our tribes, not as our countries, but as one people from sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, if we don't do that, we are always going to see the issue of Aminata and Kheira Hamraoui. The whites are always going to subject the black into a fate like that.
And they're always going to win.
And yes, and they're always going to win. So we have to develop our minds and then change the narrative. It's a very sad story. If you're a black person, if you're a black man, and you went on Twitter, you went on Facebook, you went on IG,
and did
TikTok,
this,
and you did this,
shame on you. Oh, wait, before we wrap up, Aminata Diallo, and to all the Aminata Diallos out there, every black person in the diaspora who has faced racism and is continuing to face racism due to institutionalized racism, we're here to tell you that we see you, we feel for you, and we are rooting for you, and we are in a small way doing this to let you know how much we support you, and wish for nothing but the best and success for you. Mwah.
Hi, Aminata. I hope that you get to see this, right? Don't be bothered or don't be taken down by all those negative commentary that you saw on social media. The ones you saw on Twitter, on IG, on Facebook, wherever. You should not be taken down. You're a fantastic person, right? We are just a bunch of people.
An amazing player.
Exactly. We are just a bunch of people.
I've never watched you play before.
But the key point is that we are just a bunch of people, black people, who are not willing to support and defend one of our own. We are rather ready to hate, condemn, cut ourselves together. That's our reality. So do not be taken down. You are a very, very fantastic footballer. And I believe that you are just 26 years. Whatever that you set your mind to do in football, you will be able to achieve it. And nothing is ever going to take you down. You are a fantastic player, super spirit, and you are always going to be vindicated. Stay blessed and then much love.
More power to you.